Hey Vikings Nation! What's going on, Skull family? Today we've got some absolutely massive Minnesota Vikings news swirling around the league, and trust me, this one is heating up fast. Free agency is just days away. Rumors are exploding across the NFL, and the Minnesota Vikings are suddenly right in the middle of some huge storylines that could reshape this roster overnight. But here's the big question that has fans everywhere talking. Could a former #1 overall pick actually be on his way to Minnesota? And that's not the only drama unfolding right now. We're also hearing buzz about a Vikings receiver who might be priced out of Minnesota, and a major contract situation involving one of the team's biggest offensive weapons. So buckle up, Vikings fans, because today we're diving deep into 3 major storylines surrounding the Minnesota Vikings right before free agency begins. And trust me, one of these could completely change the future of this team. Let's start with the rumor that is absolutely dominating the Vikings news cycle right now, Kyler Murray. According to reports circulating around the NFL rumor mill, sportsbooks have listed the Minnesota Vikings as the early favorites to land quarterback Kyler Murray if he becomes available. Yes, you heard that right. The former first overall pick from the 2019 draft is suddenly being linked to Minnesota, and fans across the league are trying to figure out whether this could actually happen. Some insiders believe that if Murray were released or made available, the Vikings could explore a short-term, prove-it deal. The logic behind this idea is simple. Minnesota may want a quarterback with elite playmaking ability while still maintaining flexibility for the future. And Murray, when healthy, is undeniably one of the most electric quarterbacks in the NFL. But here's where we need to pump the brakes for a moment. As of right now, there is no confirmed report that the Arizona Cardinals are planning to release Kyler Murray. In fact, many league insiders still believe Arizona views him as a key part of their future. So while the betting odds and speculation are interesting, this situation is still firmly in the rumor category. Still, Vikings fans can't help but imagine what Murray's mobility could look like in this offense. His ability to extend plays, escape pressure, and create explosive moments would bring a completely different dynamic to the Minnesota Vikings attack. And imagine the possibilities if Murray were throwing to Minnesota's current group of pass catchers. The Vikings offense already has serious weapons, and adding a dual-threat quarterback could make defensive coordinators across the NFC absolutely lose sleep. But until something concrete happens, Vikings fans should treat this as speculation rather than a done deal. The NFL offseason is notorious for wild rumors, and this might just be another example of how quickly narratives can explode this time of year. Now let's shift to another story that's starting to gain real traction: the future of Vikings wide receiver Jalen Nailor. At the start of the offseason, many Minnesota Vikings fans believed Nailor might return on a modest contract. He's been a solid developmental player for the team, and coaches have repeatedly praised his growth within the offense. But things may be changing fast. According to league sources, more than 10 NFL teams are reportedly showing interest in Nailor as free agency approaches. That kind of attention suggests that his market value may be much higher than many Vikings fans initially expected. Even though Nailor hasn't posted massive statistical seasons yet, scouts around the league see intriguing potential in his skill set. He brings vertical speed, he understands complex offensive schemes, and he's developed a reputation as a reliable run blocker, something coaches value more than fans often realize. One NFL executive even suggested that Nailor could eventually produce an 80-catch season in the right offensive system. That kind of belief from evaluators could drive his price tag way up once free agency officially begins. Some projections suggest Nailor could land a contract worth between $12 and $15 million per year on a multi-year deal. If that happens, it might simply be too expensive for the Minnesota Vikings to match, especially considering their current roster needs. And that brings us to the final major storyline surrounding the Vikings right now: the contract situation with tight end TJ Hockenson. The Minnesota Vikings are currently dealing with significant salary cap pressure heading into free agency. Reports suggest the team is tens of millions of dollars over the salary cap, which means difficult financial decisions are coming. One possible solution could involve Hockenson adjusting his contract. Instead of restructuring the deal in a typical way, there is now speculation that he could potentially agree to a pay reduction in order to help the team manage its cap situation. This is a fascinating development because earlier in the offseason, Some analysts believed Hockenson might even become a trade candidate. Others thought the Vikings might simply restructure his contract without lowering the total salary. But now, the possibility of a true pay cut is being discussed. And according to reports, Hockenson is at least open to the idea depending on how negotiations unfold. That willingness could be huge for Minnesota. Hockenson remains one of the most important pieces of the Vikings' passing attack, and keeping him in the offense is likely a priority for the coaching staff. Behind him, the Vikings currently have players like Josh Oliver and several younger tight ends under contract, but none have clearly proven they can step into a true number one tight end role. Because of that, the team may also explore additional options during free agency or the upcoming NFL draft. Several intriguing tight end prospects impressed scouts recently, and Minnesota could certainly add more depth to that position. So when you look at the bigger picture, Vikings fans are staring at a fascinating offseason. Quarterback rumors, a potential free agent bidding war for Jalen Nailor, and a critical contract decision involving TJ Hockenson. The next few weeks could completely reshape the Minnesota Vikings roster. But now I want to hear from you, Skol Nation. If Kyler Murray somehow became available, would you want the Minnesota Vikings to sign him? And what about Jalen Nailor? Should the Vikings try to keep him even if the price skyrockets? Or should Minnesota invest that money elsewhere on the roster? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now, because this is one of those moments where Vikings fans everywhere are going to have very strong opinions. And if you want to stay updated with the latest Minnesota Vikings news, rumors, and off-season moves, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with another Vikings fan. Because trust me, with free agency about to begin, the Minnesota Vikings news cycle is about to get absolutely wild. Skol, Vikings Nation. Purple circle, yellow circle.